What's going on, you guys? Liv Moods here. You can catch my new show, Liv Moods Unfiltered, the morning after each NBA Finals game at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Download the app. Give me a follow. Cheers. What is going on, everybody? Liv Moods here, joined by a very special guest, Jason Timpf, right here on my new show called Liv Moods Unfiltered, because we don't filter anything. I was just joking with Jason about my Lakers sweep episode were shots of Belvedere. That's just how we roll around here. We have fun. We don't filter a thing. We talk sports. And today it's Brewskis with the guys. Jason.
I am from Tucson, Arizona. It gets extremely hot here. It's another triple digit day. And there's one thing that I love more than anything else as it pertains to a refreshing alcoholic beverage. And it is an ice cold Mexican beer with a lime. And that's what I have today. I've got Pacifico, which is one of my favorites. My actual favorite is Sol. I do enjoy a good Corona, but my actual favorite is Sol. I drink that all the time when I'm down in Mexico. But Pacifico is another good one. I do like Corona too. I love a good ice cold Mexican beer. I'm having a pool party with some of my friends on Saturday. Plan on having a few that day too. So I'm looking forward to that. I have to say though, Liv, on your show before game one, I said probably the dumbest thing that I've said in my time working for the Volume that I need to own up to. So when we get to there, I will let you know. But I have some apologies to make to some Heat fans. So there you go.
Ooh, okay. Well, you know what? I can actually tell you, I don't really have apologies to make to the Heat fans per se, because I'm still very confident in my Denver Nuggets. I love what they've been doing. But what I will tell you is, and I have actually given the Miami Heat their flowers throughout this postseason. I have said time and time again, this is not your average 8 seed. I hate even calling them that because they're not playing like one. They're not acting like one, and they don't believe that they're one. So I really don't even like to view them as an 8 seed because they have proven that they are much more than that. But I want to tell you, game 2, from a Nuggets fan perspective, I need something stronger than this. Let's put it that way. I definitely didn't love that game. There were a lot of things to me that just did not work well for the Nuggets. Now, that being said, to play devil's advocate, there was a lot that didn't work for the Nuggets, and they only lost by 3. So there's a part of me that's like, don't lose hope entirely, but also it might be time to worry a little bit. Obviously, I was very comfortable about Nuggets in 5. I was so confident. Where are we at? Where do you think Nuggets fans should be on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being relaxed, keep your cool, 10 being panicked. Where should Nuggets fans be right now?
I'd still be at like a 2 or a 3 from the standpoint of like their ability to win the series. So the dumbest thing that I said, it actually got pulled out in our social media clip as fate would have it. So if the Heat do end up winning the series, I will have to go through the paces on Twitter, but it will be deserved. I said that I thought that they were literally incapable of winning the series. And that could not be more wrong. I do believe that the Nuggets will win. But Miami absolutely has a chance to win this series. And again, like to me, the thing that I did not see coming and the thing that completely specifically made that take so ridiculous was throughout 3 rounds, nobody slowed down Denver's offense, not even a little bit. The best stretch of defense from the Lakers was a stretch in the first half of game 2, where LeBron James spent a bunch of time guarding Nikola Jokic with Anthony Davis and help. They had Rui Hachimura on the floor a lot. They were flying around. They competed, and Denver still got 48 points and looked for the most part pretty comfortable, and then ended up breaking out in the second half as they won by double figures. And that series in the grand scheme of things, Denver actually scored 122 points per 100 possessions, which is like off the charts good. Like off the charts good. That's a higher offensive rating than Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic had together with the Dallas Mavericks this year. So what's super interesting here is I have now seen Miami find 2 ways to bog down Denver's offense, which is 2 more ways than the Lakers ever found. And that's Jimmy Butler on Jamal Murray, with Bam Adebayo on Nikola Jokic, with Kevin Love on Aaron Gordon. And 2, that zone defense, where they're basically taking one of the top guys and they're dropping down and fronting the high post to prevent that catch for Nikola Jokic. That's what's crazy to me. Like, for the first time, they've made Denver look not confident. Like they looked in that second half, not confident. I said before the series, I'm like, there's no way Jimmy Butler and Spoelstra can, like mentally dominate the Nuggets the way that they did their other opponents. They are firmly in two guys' heads right now. Michael Porter Jr. and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are both playing well below the level they did through the first 3 rounds. And that's in large part due to the way Spoelstra's guarding them and essentially just trying to guard 2-man actions 2-on-2, 1-man actions 1-on-1, and leaving those guys to try to make tough shots while staying glued to Michael Porter Jr. and KCP and taking away their easy opportunities. And so, again, I expect Denver to bounce back. They did not defend well in game 2. I expect them to defend well in game 3. But there's no doubt that Miami has a pathway to victory in this series, which was not the case early. So I'm excited for Miami fans, but I also want to say, like, I was just flat out wrong. It was stupid for me to say that. And I've learned my lesson for the 4th time this postseason.
You know what? That is actually something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize about our job is that we are wrong a lot. And I think admitting it and being like, all right, you guys, I got that wrong. I mean, Nuggets in 5, that was something I was saying with my chest. Do I feel great about Nuggets in 5 right now? Absolutely not. So I want to come at this from a Denver Nuggets fandom perspective, because as much as I love talking about sports, I am also a Denver Nuggets fan. And to me, one of the largest issues that we saw in game 2, that I saw in game 2, was honestly a lack of effort. I kept saying this and I had to Google it to make sure that the quote was actually appropriate for the situation, but the Nuggets got caught with their pants down. That's what I keep saying. It was like an embarrassing wake-up call of, hey, it's been 27 days since you've lost a basketball game. And believe it or not, as humble as I believe this Nuggets team is, they forgot what it feels like to lose. They showed up, they played complacent basketball. I did not think that they were as hungry and competitive for that win as the Miami Heat were. Plain and simple. I could have listed off a bunch of different things that were frustrating from a Nuggets fan perspective. The goaltend call that to me was very obvious and missed. The out of bounds miss with Jimmy Butler that resulted in a 3. But it's really not about the refs. There are 4 quarters in a basketball game, and the Miami Heat simply played a more competitive game. So to me, it was the punch in the mouth that I think the Nuggets needed. To sweep a team like the Lakers has got to kind of elevate your confidence. It's got to make your chest pop out a little bit, your chin lift a little bit. And I think, honestly, they needed to face an L here and kind of realize what they've got to fix, the adjustments that they have to make, and the effort that they need to put forward. Because to me, it was just a massive lack of effort, honestly.
I want to cut them some slack because they had won 7 consecutive postseason games, and not just that, but 7 consecutive postseason games involving Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. So like for us to get on them a little bit about their effort, I think is just kind of like a natural human nature thing. I love this time of year because in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, there's literally so many games that I don't really have a chance to go back and rewatch games. And when we get to the conference finals, it slows down a little bit and I have more time. And so, I work with Colin after game 2 and, I kind of enjoy the games the night of almost as a fan. And I'm like, I'm watching and I'm like, man, I can't believe they're doing this. And I'm paying attention to certain things. But the next day I always get to slow down and like really pour over the film. And so I took a lot of time yesterday, like literally like 4 hours watching, like rewatching specific clips, going like just pouring over the game. And Denver was so bad defensively in this game, like so bad. It was one of their worst defensive efforts of this entire postseason. From the opening tip, Jamal Murray was just completely mailing in that end of the floor. He let Gabe Vincent shake loose for a couple easy pull-up jumpers earlier in the game by literally not guarding him. He was dying on screens all night long, which is this like chain reaction for Denver because Miami was really good about pulling Jamal Murray into ball screens and getting Jokic up to the level of the screen. And Jokic is not very good at the level of screen at dissuading like the pocket pass. So essentially they pulled Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic up out to the 3-point line, but Jamal Murray's dead on the screen while Bam is rolling. So there's a wide open pocket to hit Bam Adebayo. And then from there, it's literally a 4-on-3. And so they were getting all sorts of wide open threes on the backside. It was like a layup line for Bam Adebayo. And then in the times that they stepped over to stop at Bam Adebayo, it was wide open threes on the backside. This is a crazy stat. Miami ran 36 pick and rolls, including passes against Denver's defense in game 2 and scored an astonishing 1.47 points per possession. Like that's off the charts good. That's literally, that means they were either hitting a 3 every other possession or scoring a 2 out of every 3 possessions. Like it's insane how efficient they were scoring against Denver's set defense. Now, on the other end of the floor, it's the exact opposite dynamic. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are able to credibly guard the Jokic Murray actions 2-on-2 without having to bring that third defender over. And so as a result, guys like MPJ and KCP are going extended stretches of not touching the basketball. And so there are going to be some execution things they'll have to figure out on offense. I said on my show, like, more just dribble handoffs for KCP and MPJ just to keep them in rhythm. Because if they're not going to get off-ball touches, then you have to manufacture on-ball touches for them. And basketball players, it's weird. You got to have the ball in your hands a lot to feel in rhythm. Even if you're just dribbling and making plays for your teammates, it just will help you when you do need to take a 3 when the ball doesn't feel like a foreign object in your hands. So there's going to be some adjustments. In the zone defense, they're going to have to figure out some things too. But the biggest problem, and I said this on the show, the biggest thing, if you had to attribute one thing to Denver toasting off game 2, they just mailed in the defensive end. They mailed it in. MPJ wasn't as active as he was in game 1. Jokic was awful. Jamal Murray was awful. It was all bad. And so they're going to, I guarantee you, Mike Malone has just been poring over the film with them, yelling at them, letting them know. And I expect them to come out. I think Denver is going to win game 3 comfortably. And then game 4 will end up being kind of a dogfight. That's my guess at this point.
Okay, I like hearing that. I mean, I was about to just tell you, let's play a drinking game, and I'm realizing I've about drank half of this damn beer because I'm obviously stressed, and this is my therapy at the moment. So you know what? But we are going to play a drinking game, and it's basically going to be take a sip if you think blank. So you either sip, and honestly, if I keep sipping, guys, maybe I'm just feeling the drink. It may not even be about the statement itself. No, I'm kidding. I'll play the drinking game right. So let's start with this. Take a sip if you think the officiating affected the outcome of game 2.
I'm insulted by the question. Hell no, not taking a sip.
See, and I'm not taking a sip either. And that's very, I think there were anytime a fan loses, we've got to find a reason why it happened. We can't accept that our team just didn't show up. That's more painful than going, okay, what can I see here? And I actually made a TikTok and I said it out loud. There are 4 quarters in a basketball game. And I have always said, you cannot blame the refs. Now we know that there is some officiating that is just so ugly and awful that it's like, it feels like they've got the money line of the other team in the parlay. Like that's how it feels. However, I just can't, the lack of effort from the Nuggets to me is the bigger issue. But yeah, I'm not taking a sip. I would like to, because I enjoy the beer, but I will not take a sip for that one. So we both are not sipping. I
just got to say, like, I feel the same way about shooting. So let's hit the officiating first. There's no doubt that officiating is terrible in the NBA. They are rewarding way too many non-basketball plays with free throws. They are way inconsistent with the way that they enforce the rules. Officiating being bad is a separate topic from officiating affecting your team. To put it simply, you will get the benefit of bad calls if you are the team that is playing with more physical force. That has always been the way it works. And it's been like that at every single level of basketball that I've played. It's been like that at every season that I've watched the NBA. What ends up happening is a team that's desperate brings this crazy amount of physical force to a game. And you could see it just screaming off the screen in the first few possessions as Miami went up 10-2. They play with more force. Inevitably, Denver's on their heels. Guys that are on their heels are usually out of position. Guys that are out of position have to foul. Guys that are playing with force, not only do they put the defense in those precarious positions, but on the other end of the floor, they're a step quicker. So they're in position, so they don't have to foul. It always goes that way. And I think I just think in general, even if we accepted the fake reality that officiating is hurting your team, it's out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. So you better find a way to win. And so I just think that's a super lame excuse.
It's a sorry excuse. Okay. Nuggets fans. So get rid of it. Next one. I'm going to grab it right here because I'm probably sipping. Take a sip if you think MPJ will have an exceptionally better game in game 3.
Exceptionally better. I'll go you this because he's pretty damn bad though.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The bar's low right now. So exceptionally better could be, we're talking a 10 piece. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that. I mean, Heat to me, if the Nuggets want to win game 3, MPJ, it's not an option. Like, he has to show up better defensively and offensively. We spoke very highly of MPJ and his size advantage in this series and the defensive way that he's been showing up in the postseason. And we lost that completely in game 2. So I'm sipping to it because I just don't think there's an alternative world where they get a win and he doesn't have an exceptionally better game. So to me, it's mandatory.
The thing with MPJ is it has nothing to do with him scoring necessarily. Like I like, people complain about shot result all the time. They'll be like, oh, like we didn't shoot well or they didn't shoot well. Basketball players are not machines. It's not like you walk up to a slot machine and you put in a $20 bill and you start hitting the button and just pray to God that your 3-point shot falls. Like, that's not how it works. Like right. These shooters, when they're shooting, like if I put Michael Porter Jr. on a shooting machine and he took 100 3-point shots, he's making 85 of them. So like, these guys are knockdown shooters when the conditions are right. What causes you to shoot 12%, 30%, 47% has to do with the totality of the offense and the kinds of shots that you're getting. I know Michael Porter Jr. in the games where Denver's offense looks good is going to knock down some shots. But most importantly, that's out of his control. He might get a good look and fire away, and it might just miss, because sometimes you trust your muscle memory and you still miss. However, in game 1, he was flying around making plays. He had 2 blocks in the first quarter. He was grabbing contested rebounds. He was great in help defense overall. He's a big athletic forward. When he engages himself in those areas of the game, he is a big winning impact. And you know what? Naturally, the 3-point shots will come over the course of the series. That's so not the issue. He mailed in the defensive end in game 2. That's why it was a bad game. He shot poorly in game 1, and I thought he played really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my next question was going to be about the sustainability of Miami's 3-point shooting, but I think I should reword that and say, take a sip if you think that Denver's defense is capable of slowing down Miami's 3-point shooting. Woo! I didn't sip because I'm too nervous.
So
the defense is just scaring me right now, but I'm glad that you sipped, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's really this simple to me. Like Miami actually is a lot better shooting team than people give them credit for. People will be like, oh, they were a poor shooting team in the regular season. They had a bad regular season. They did. All those same dudes
showing up when it matters.
Yeah, so. all those same, they were also one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league the previous year, which is more like their reality. Like, here's the thing. When you like, Gabe Vincent is a good shooter. Duncan Robinson is a great shooter. Max Strus is a good shooter. These guys are all the guys that if you leave them open, they're going to knock them down. The only guy really that's like, oh man, how is he still making these shots is like Caleb Martin. But still, Caleb Martin's the kind of guy that, like, if you give him a good look, he's going to make it. And guess what? He made 1 in game 2, and it was a wide open corner 3. So like, at the end of the day, I put it like this. If you guard them, I promise you they'll miss. Just like anybody else. If you bother a shooter's rhythm, if you bother them before they go up into the shot, they will miss at a higher rate than they will if you let them get in rhythm, comfortable catch and shoot shots. And then what they say is they'll be like, oh, I can't believe they made Kyle Lowry made this crazy pull-up 3. And it's like, all that stuff is connected. When you are comfortable throughout the game because you have been getting good looks, you will make the tougher ones. This is the fundamental problem with analytics. And when they say like contested shots and like, oh, our shot quality was really good. There is a huge difference between a contested shot and a bothered shot. Those are 2 completely different concepts. A contested shot is I put a hand up. I promise you, I wasn't even a very good player in college. If you put a hand up, I didn't even see that shit. I was going right up over the top of you. You had to you had to bother my base. You had to bother my gather. You had to. So sometimes the tracking data will be like, oh, well, they didn't generate that many wide open 3s and they knocked it down. And it's like, when you just jog up to the dude when he's already starting his muscle memory and throwing your hand up, he does not see that shit. I promise you he doesn't. You have to be able to bother the shooters, not contest the shooters. That's 2 completely different concepts. Denver's defense is the reason why Miami shot as well as they did. And last thing I'll say, This is 2 months now where when teams have left Miami shooters open, they've made them pay. It's 2 months. So if you think it's going to stop all of a sudden, I promise you that's a fool's errand.
I mean, I am not a Denver Nugget, and I am certainly not Michael Malone, but we saw this in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you would think the math is mathing. Let's do the math and go, hey, we cannot let that happen. We've seen it now happen to 3 teams that everybody expected to beat this Miami Heat team. And guess what? They lost because they left 3-point shooters wide the F open. I thought it was just, common sense, but we'll get there. I want to talk about someone to me, though. I know we're harsh on the Nuggets right now, but this is the last take the sip of the drinking game. Take a sip if Christian Braun should play more minutes.
Oof.
I know. That's a tough one.
I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
And it's really this simple. Like, to me, especially with the way Miami's guarding, you need to have as much shooting on the floor as possible. Towards the end of game 2, they ended up having to go with Bruce Brown because of some of their defensive issues. Yeah. Everything to me comes down to you need your core 5 guys, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, MPJ, KCP, and Jamal Murray, to defend at a high enough level that Mike Malone can actually keep them on the floor. Because with the way that especially Miami's zone, because one of the things we've seen consistently through 2 games now is Erik Spoelstra, he might use the zone during the first 3 quarters in random possessions here or there. He's repping that out in the fourth quarter. He's bringing that in the fourth quarter. And with the way that he's guarding, it's going to be so imperative that they have a ton of shooting on the floor in those moments. So like Christian Braun's a great athlete. He kind of reminds me of that big athletic guard. He kind of plays a similar style to Bruce Brown. He plays a similar style to Alex Caruso. What was the cartoon character you brought up last week?
Caillou.
Caillou. I have had multiple people that listen to the show come and contact me and say, like, how did you not know who Caillou was? And I was like,
come on,
I don't know, man.
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, so I think as much as I like Christian Braun, I don't think this is like do we need to tweak the lineup kind of thing. I think this is the core 5 guys just have to play better.
I agree. And I don't necessarily think you throw off that core that's been building chemistry all season long. I don't know if we're to that point yet, but I do think it's great that he can come off the bench and defensively have an impact. He almost had 3 steals. I think one of them was close, but no cigar. 2 for sure that I know of. And offensively, he was just showing a lot of aggression, which I think was needed, especially for the momentum for the Nuggets. Obviously it wasn't enough, but I definitely think he brought some energy that was much, much needed in game 2. So happy with what he's doing. Maybe not more minutes, but valuable minutes nonetheless. You and I have talked extensively about the offensive advantage that the Nuggets have in this series. In your last pod and on this episode, this show, you have expressed the concern of the Denver defense. I want to ask you, if we continue to see the game 2 version of Denver's defense, is their offense enough to help them win?
Well, they don't have to be great defensively. They just have to be good enough. It helps on a bunch of different levels. So it became kind of a chain reaction in the fourth quarter because Erik Spoelstra doesn't like to run his zone defense unless he gets a made basket. That's very common in the NBA and at all levels of basketball. Most teams won't run a zone unless they're in some sort of dead ball situation or a made basket because it buys you time to actually set up the zone. And Spoelstra also likes to run his like full court press, that like kind of zone press that backs into the zone because it chews up a bunch of shot clock and makes you attack the zone with fewer opportunities at the end of the game. And so in those situations, just by getting stops for Denver, you keep Miami out of their zone because they will go man-to-man in a live ball situation. So everything really comes down to the defensive end because Denver's going to get good shots against Miami's man-to-man defense. That said, like they do have to figure out a couple things. Like I said, more action for Michael Porter Jr. and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to try to keep them in rhythm. In their zone, they're going to have to find a way to counter Jokic being denied at the high post. I broke down a couple of different examples on my show yesterday. They're kind of in the weeds, so I won't get into them right now. But the gist of it is like they just have to meet the baseline of defensive effort and energy that they had in game 1. If they do that, they will generate more high quality shots than Miami over the course of the game. One other thing that I would do, they're getting lost in off-ball situations when they start guarding these ball screens 3-on-2. They might have to ask Jokic to drop further back, which opens you up to pull-up shooting. So that's where you're going to see Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry coming over the top of those screens and taking pull-up shots. But I'd rather have Miami do that than get wide open catch and shoot threes on the weak side, because Jokic is too high and Bam is getting those roll possessions. So they call it no roller behind coverage, meaning when Bam is rolling, Jokic always keeps Bam in front of him, which pushes him back further to the basket. But what that means is that when Jamal Murray is defending the ball screen, he doesn't have as much help waiting for him on the other side of the screen. So it puts more pressure on those guards to fight over the top of the screens. But even if you're conceding pull-up jump shots there, I would just rather do that than give up those wide open threes, because that's when Miami's at their best. Is when they're just, the ball's popping around and it's extra pass, relocating shooter, wide open three. That's the thing that they got to avoid.
That's what we saw in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm not sure if the Nuggets just didn't tune into that game or what, but like I did, and I know what I saw. And so, yeah, let's get it together. I watched your latest pod, and you said Denver fans are the latest to join the club on thinking that Miami's getting lucky shots, which I agree with. What do you have to say to the Lakers fans that said the same thing about the Nuggets? Do the Nuggets get lucky shots?
Oh, I don't think so. I think the Nuggets just whooped the Lakers' ass. And like,
boom.
Yeah, I thought that the biggest thing that disappointed me about the Lakers, because like everything on the offensive end to me is just the reality of their roster construction. LeBron James couldn't make a damn jump shot all season long. So guess what? He couldn't make a damn jump shot when he needed to in the Western Conference Finals. Anthony Davis went from being a dominant post-up ISO player in the bubble to being a guy that like literally can't score in the post or isolation situation. So guess what? He couldn't score against Nikola Jokic in those situations. The Laker guards are good, not great, you know? And so guess what? Like Alex Caruso had some moments, but D'Angelo Russell really fizzled out. Dennis Schroeder really struggled. So like, to me, the offensive struggles for the Lakers were just the reality of their roster limitations. I was super disappointed in the Lakers defensively. Bam Adebayo has done a much better job on Nikola Jokic than Anthony Davis does in two specific ways. He's just much more physical and fighting for position and keeping Bam a little bit more uncomfortable, Jokic a little more uncomfortable, sprinting back in transition defense, much better. Jimmy Butler has done a better job on Jamal Murray than any Laker did. So the Laker defense, I think, was the main issue. Like, again, I thought Michael Porter Jr. and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope were getting really good looks against the Lakers, and I don't think they're getting those same looks against Miami, and that's the fundamental problem.
So you mentioned Jimmy Butler. I want to touch on him for a second. And I also want to make my own apology. Jason got on here and apologized for something he said. It's my turn, okay? I did, in fact, say in a video that I posted to social media that Bam Adebayo wasn't going to do shit in this series. Well, I'm not sure if he saw that damn video or what, but he definitely has shown up. And so I want to give him his flowers. And really the angle that I was coming from was more a pro Jokic standpoint in terms of Bam not being able to slow Jokic down. I did not think that he had the physicality to slow Jokic down. That was really where I was coming from. But I have to say, Bam has definitely shown up far more than I anticipated he would. And he has been playing pretty great for this Miami Heat team. He's been making an impact in both game 1 and 2. So I have to apologize to Bam Adebayo. Apparently you tune into my stuff. So here's your apology. You must have watched the video because you've been showing up and showing out. So here's my apology, Bam. But I want to talk about Jimmy for a second. Playoff Jimmy as of late, okay? Not a single game over 30 points in the last 7, averaging 38% from the field in his last 7. We have a Tyler Hero that's not yet cleared. If the Nuggets can make the adjustments that they need to make, which God willing, hopefully they do. Does Jimmy cooling down offensively and having to rely on some of these other players that are great, but maybe not as consistent, does that worry you at all if you're a Heat fan?
I think that Miami has been playing a very well-rounded form of basketball really the last 3 rounds. The Milwaukee series in particular, Jimmy went supernova. Like Jimmy legitimately, like that was vintage LeBron James, like point forward. What did he average? Like 36 points a game in that series. Like that.
Absurd.
The matchup attacking, the psychological domination. It looked like LeBron in the Eastern Conference in the mid 2010s. Like that's what that looked like. But since then, it's been mostly a team endeavor. Now, Jimmy has still been incredible. He's taken a lot of the significant defensive responsibilities that they needed. He was the guy who completely just eviscerated Jaylen Brown's confidence. He was the guy that took on the Jamal Murray assignment. He does a ton for them defensively, obviously. He also has been big time in clutch situations as a shot maker. I thought last night, again, like he just smelled blood in the water, hit that big pull-up jumper. He had that and one against Aaron Gordon where he got by him. He is doing what the team needs him to do in terms of like providing the bits of high level play. But this is a team endeavor. It's everything. It's they have a ton of aggregate ball handling and shooting. So like Gabe Vincent can make plays off the bounce. Kyle Lowry can make plays off the bounce. Jimmy Butler can make plays off the bounce. Bam Adebayo can make plays off the bounce. Duncan Robinson has like been incredible putting the basketball on the floor. Like he's unlocked a whole other part of his game where it's like, like if Jamal Murray closes out at me hard to my right shoulder, I can rip through to the baseline and get all the way to the basket. Like if I pump fake, I don't have to pump fake and break my rhythm. I can take a relocation dribble to set up another shot. Like Duncan Robinson's been great. So they have a ton of aggregate ball handling. And then Bam Adebayo is the guy that kind of pieces it all together. And it's interesting because this is where Anthony Davis has his biggest weakness. He really struggles with playmaking out of double teams and out of the short roll. Bam Adebayo is an awesome passer when he gets into those 4-on-3 situations. It's borderline like Draymond Green-esque. So I will say that like it's a team endeavor, but Jimmy still is the head of the snake and he still does all that superstar stuff when you need him to.
For sure. And honestly, I think to your point and what you're saying right now, I think that we really are seeing the two best teams, not necessarily the best superstars. These are two teams where if Jamal Murray has a bad game, here comes Nikola Jokic, right? If MPJ and KCP, now you've got guys like Christian Brown trying to make an impact and Bruce Brown coming off the bench. And then same thing with this Miami Heat team. I said it in a video that every player on this team finds a way to make an impact, whether it's this big or this big. And so I think that's something that's really cool about this Heat team and this Nuggets team. I'll give them both their credit here that it's a team. It's a team sport, but these are truly two teams. This isn't just superstars that are carrying the load. And then, you've got this person doing a little bit here. Jimmy Butler's willing to have maybe a 15-point game, a 13-point game, if he can make a bigger impact defensively. And I think that's really speaks volumes of the two teams that we've got in the finals here. And it's definitely been fun to watch. We've seen obviously game 1 and game 2. Before we rattle off some over-unders on some point totals for some of the players, and then we wrap up here, which game 1 or 2, do you think was a better representation of what we're going to see this series?
I think game 1 is a better representation of what we'll see from Denver offensively in this series.
Okay.
And I think that game 2 is a better representation of what we'll see from Miami offensively in this series. So I do think that Miami in game 1 had a bad offensive night. And I do think Denver in game 2 had a bad defensive night. However, it kind of exposed some of the weaknesses in their scheme. I think this could be a long series. And the main reason why is the KCP Michael Porter Jr. thing. Because Miami, above and beyond anything schematically, has gotten in those guys' heads a little bit. And that can take a little while. Like that can take a game or two to break out of. And so that can be concerning. I tend to think this is a split in Miami, which brings us to a guaranteed 6-game series no matter what. That said, like Denver has more talent. And so if they bring the requisite defensive effort and they break these guys out of their slumps, they could easily go down to Miami and win both. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. Miami's just going to make you work. It's so funny. There's been all this story about yesterday, that stupid Kyrie Irving report about like pulling LeBron to the Mavericks. And you know what's funny?
Between him and John Morant, I'm like, can y'all shut up so we can watch the basketball? I'm over it. God dang it. I'm over this crap. Shut your mouth.
If I had to see LeBron James play on another NBA team in his career that was not the Lakers, it'd be the Heat. Ooh. I would love to see like a Tyler Herro plus Duncan Robinson, whatever salary filler you need to get LeBron over there. Because I would love to see LeBron James play with like a really competent franchise that has the coaching advantage and with guys that coach. And Jimmy and Bam can take a lot of the dirty work off of his hands. I'd love to see LeBron in Miami again. It's not going to happen, but I would love, especially after his kid just signed at USC. But if I had to see LeBron go somewhere, it would be Miami.
I would like that. And also, I just have to say this to the people that are watching. If you're a Heat fan, every time I roll my eyes when the name Duncan Robinson or Grandpa Kevin Love gets mentioned, it's just me being salty, okay? Because I cannot stand that this man, first of all, Kevin Love had more gray hairs on his head than MPJ had points. It's sick. It's just sickening behavior. It just as a Nuggets fan, just let me be salty. Someone said, do you need some salt for your fries? No, I have plenty over here. I'm good. And also Duncan Robinson as a sports bettor. We're about to kind of touch into like maybe some betting stuff, but as a sports bettor, Duncan Robinson is dead to me. I have bet his player prop too many times. He has screwed over my wallet. I'm done with him. So every time I roll my eyes, he's a great player, but he has pissed off my bank account way too many times. So he's done. I'm done. We broke up. We're not talking. I blocked his number. That's where we're at. So really quick rapid fire. We'll keep this really, really short and sweet. Let's go over under on point totals for game 3. I went ahead and looked at the FanDuel Sportsbook app, pulled these numbers. Jokic's line is at 28.5. Would you go over or under?
28.5. I go over. Guaranteed that Miami will try to maintain their current defensive strategy, which again, even if you do get Michael Porter Jr. in rhythm, even if you do get KCP in rhythm, it's going to demand a 35-point night out of Jokic just to continue to beat the coverage that Miami has out there.
I'm going to go under because I would like to see him facilitate more because we seem to win more when that happens. So that's wishful thinking, but I'm going to go under just because that's what I would love to see. Because if he's facilitating more, that means that more people showed up offensively. Woohoo! So that's just me having wishful thinking there. MPJ, we know, struggled offensively. His line is at 14.5. Would you go over or under?
I'm actually going to go. I'll go under. I do think MPJ is going to play a much better basketball game. But I don't think a big scoring night is kind of feasible with Erik Spoelstra's defensive approach. Okay.
Better game. That's all we want. Bam Adebayo, his line is at 19.5. Over or under?
I'm going to go under. I think that I expect Denver to make the adjustment of dropping Jokic further back in ball screens, which will inherently affect Bam's roll man touches, which he was so successful in game 2. So I think Bam will go under.
Love it. And last but not least, Jimmy Butler, 25.5. Over or under?
I'm going to go under for game 3 too, just simply because I think that this particular game 3 is going to be a game where Denver plays much better defensively. And Jimmy is really good at picking his spots. And if and I could see this game being a game that Denver controls and him kind of saving his punch for game 4. Like we saw that in the Boston series where Jimmy was chilling in game 5, 4, 5, and 6. Himself. And then in game 7, he's like, "Oh, I got you, boys. I got you."
Yeah, I don't want to see that not one time. I think if this series goes 7, I think it's going to be one of those games I can't even watch. I can't even watch.
I'll be in Montana. How the hell is that going to work? I have a flight after game 6.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
I'm going to be looking at dinosaurs.
You know that might be, honestly. It might keep you calm, though. It might keep you calm. I'm telling you, it's so funny working in this industry and watching sports the way that we do. We watch it from a very different lens. Obviously, your lens is much more analytical than my lens. However, we're both watching it because it's our job, not just because we're, willy-nilly watching the game. I've gone back and forth about going to a game. I'm willing to spend the money because I think this is a once in a lifetime, really cool opportunity. I'll never apologize for spending money on sports tickets ever. I never regret that purchase. So I'll pay it, whatever. I'm trying to figure out if I can emotionally handle being at a game and being stuck there and being forced to watch. Like, it's a lot. It's very overwhelming. So I'm with you. I think that this game, Nuggets in 5, it's not looking great. It's not feeling great. But where do you think it ends? Do you think we get it in 6? Do they win in Miami, or do the Nuggets bring it back home for 7 and win in 7?
I'm going to stick with my pre-series prediction, which was Nuggets in 6. Okay. I believe
you just
I'm going to go with.
You're scaring me now.
I know. I slipped up. I think that Denver's going to win game 3. Miami's going to win game 4, and then Denver's going to win game 5 and 6. That's my guess right now. I think I just have too much respect for Spoelstra to not think he's going to get one more out of these guys.
Right. Well, yeah. He's
typically game 3 is that game because I call it the buzzsaw game. It's that first game at home. It'll be the first home game for the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals since 2014. But Denver has so much talent, and they're going to come out desperate in game 3. That's going to be tough to overcome.
I think, like I said, they got caught with their pants down. I'm going to keep saying it. Because if I got caught with my pants down in public, I'd be embarrassed. They're embarrassed right now. They got punched in the mouth and they weren't prepared for it. And again, you kind of gotta give them a little bit of slack. Like I said, 27 days since their last loss. Like, they blew through this Western Conference. They had a 12 and 3 postseason record before this series started. So they had they weren't familiar with what it feels like to lose and have it hurt. Like, it was an embarrassing loss. I mean, they were also undefeated at home in the postseason. So it's one thing to lose. It's another to lose at home where your whole fan base is like, we're good. You know, I'm going to be honest. Nuggets fans have been talking shit. And I'm one of them. Hello, I'm right here. I've been talking shit. I know I have. So yeah, I mean, the fans got caught with their pants down. The Nuggets I think it was a sock in the mouth. I think they needed it, but I do think that level of competitive, I think they're seeing red for game 3, and they have enough talent that I think they can get a W there, but it's Nuggets in 5, you guys, it's over, whatever. I'm accepting my fate. The Nuggets in 5 thing is dead, but I'm hoping they can at least just.
It's not dead.
Well,
it's not dead. Look, and if there's one thing I've learned about the NBA Finals over the years, it's never overreact to one game. Never.
True. Okay.
You have to pay attention. You have to find what caused it. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen a game like that, and where I went back and looked at the film and I'm like, oh, they just didn't play hard. It happens all the time.
And that is how I feel about game 2. And honestly, I had to tell myself today, because I'm going to be honest, before we get out of here, I'm going to let you guys know something. It's been doomsday since game 2 around here. I've
heard about that.
I am pissed off. The vibe is just low. And I think that you're absolutely right about the overreacting thing. Like, we get to this place where it's just like, oh my God, all hope is lost. And it's like, well, we still have to remember, this is a team that has adjusted pretty well. They did sweep the Lakers, which was arguably one of the best postseason defenses in general. They're still 13-4 in the postseason. KCP didn't have his best game. MPJ didn't have his best game, and they only lost by 3 points. Like, there's a lot of things that it's just when you get the fandom involved, you start getting a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's where we're at. And then you add I downed this thing, this whole episode. It's gone, you guys. It's done. This has been me since game 2. Give me a beer.
Guys, Liv finished a beer.
That's right. Everybody start freaking out. No, you're just lucky it's not Belvedere shots, because if it were, I'd probably be on the floor by now. Okay. So we're doing the beer thing because it's a little safer. But yeah, I'm excited for the game. I really don't know if I love this extra time they're putting in between games. I'm sure the players appreciate it, but I
kind of like it, Liv.
I just think if it weren't my team, Jason, I think I would enjoy it as well. And you also, let me give you your flowers. I've been giving flowers to the athletes. Jason works his ass off. You work like more hours during the NBA season than like probably even seem legal at this point, because this is just what you do. This is your thing. This is your thing. So I'm sure you're loving this little break. I think as a fan, I'm anxious for the next one, but I'm sure you are like so enjoying the minimal amount of spare time that you're getting right now.
This series has been fun. Because like from basically from the beginning of April all the way through to the end of the conference finals, I work multiple times a day. And I'm still working a lot, right? Like I covered game 2, did my film breakdown yesterday, working with you today. I did a Snapchat show yesterday for Carson. Like I'm doing lots of stuff, but like it's way more manageable because like last night I got to go have dinner with my parents. Like how cool is that? I haven't been able to do that much during the postseason. Like
that is fabulous.
Tonight, my wife and I are just going to hang out and, watch Jane the Virgin and eat tacos.
I love that.
And so like I'm having finally some moments to decompress a little bit, and then I'm going out of town soon. So like it's just one of those things where I really, really push it hard April, May, June.
You do.
And then during the regular season, I work a lot too, but it's easier because I have more nights off, So like it is what it is, and I make sure I have my relaxation time in the summer. Carly makes sure that I have my relaxation time for sure.
There you go. Yeah, no, you're exceptional at what you do, and I listen to your stuff and I read the comments and see how people interact with your stuff, and you are just really great at your job. So that speaks to the amount of work that you put in. It's not easy, but again, all that to say, we work for a pretty badass company with some pretty badass people. And it's crazy how much we work, yet there's a lot of days where it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like a really, really cool opportunity. So
let me shout out really quickly, because one of these guys is on this call right here. But every time that I overwork this time of year, all the people behind the scenes have to work too. And so Ryan Brumley, Amen. Paul Farrington, Carson Breber, all those guys, they all step up and
Brittany Cohen, shout out.
Brittany Cohen too, yeah, on your show. And literally they go step for step with me when I'm doing this. So like I wouldn't be able to do it without those guys. And I will say it means a lot to me that you said that, Liv. Seriously, I appreciate it.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah, no, I'm happy that you were able to jump on with me again. Hopefully we can keep this going. The series keeps going. We'll make time for a drink. I mean, this is, again, you don't even need to bring notes. Just bring a drink. That's how I feel.
Want an espresso martini.
Oh, yes. We are going to do espresso martinis next. And then, like I said, man, maybe we'll get Jason out to Denver for a little parade action. If we're down that road, if the Nuggets keep doing what they need to do.
They got to win in 5 then, though. They got to win in 5 because I'm going after game 6 to Montana.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Okay, well,
yeah,
then.
So if they win in 5, though, I'll stop in Denver on my way.
There we go. Boom. Love it. Okay, well, Jason, I appreciate you being here. This has been another Liv Moods Unfiltered, talking all things NBA Finals with the one, the only Jason Timpf. Jason, where can they find you? On socials? You've got a YouTube show, Hoops Tonight. Where else can they find you besides YouTube?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT. The show is on the Volumes YouTube channel, as well as wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight.
If you are a basketball lover, absolutely give Jason a subscription, a follow. Make sure you're watching all of his stuff. It's excellent. Jason, thank you for your time. Cheers with an empty beer to the Denver Nuggets.
Hopefully the Nuggets are up 2-1. Yeah.
That's right. And we will catch you guys next time. Go Nuggets.